And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, everyone. I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan, and this is your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on Thursday, June 19th, 2025. And to start things out, as of this Thursday, we have an area of low pressure that'll be coming up across the central Aleutians into the central lower Bering as we go through this Thursday night into Friday. This is a gale force low. We have an occluded front arcing north and east ahead of it that has some gale force winds, especially through the eastern Aleutians, and it'll be pushing up along the Alaska Peninsula, including bands of rain or rain showers. So this is a somewhat strong system for this time of year. And then as we look toward the Gulf, some lingering areas of IFR. Friday morning will be the case with there's an area of low pressure further south. And still some lingering rain showers possible on the light side here in areas of the Panhandle yet this Thursday, but warm temperatures possible up toward Haines for this Thursday afternoon. We could see readings near 80 degrees. Still 70s and 80s possible across the interior as we go into the early weekend, Friday and Saturday. With the daytime heating, there will be some scattered thunderstorms, especially north and west of the Alaska Range as we get up through the middle Yukon and the far upper reaches of the Kuskokwim, Tanana, lower half of the Tanana valleys. As we look out toward the west, though, IFR conditions out over the Chukchi Sea and into the areas of the Bering, just because with the cold surface water relative to slightly warmer temperatures, perfect conditions for those lower clouds and areas of fog. For Friday afternoon, notice the scattering of thunderstorms across the interior. We also have to contend with, if you're flying here in areas of the interior, it'll be a bit on the hazy side, along with some localized areas of smoke near some of the active wildfires, so keep that in mind. And again, the fire danger is certainly elevated across the interior with the development of these thunderstorms and the potential for lightning strikes. As we go into Saturday, generally VFR conditions throughout the mainland, but will be hazy. Part of that is not just some smoke contribution from fires in Alaska, but we've also seen with the easterly flow across, especially the southern mainland, that's transported some smoke and haze from out of Canada. And Saturday morning, there could be an isolated thunderstorm here up toward the west end of the Yukon Flats. We find IFR conditions off of the Panhandle there in through the eastern Gulf, and again offshore of the Beaufort Sea and down along the Chukchi Sea. As you get out a bit there, you'll find IFR conditions. Same thing. St. Matthew, St. Paul, down across much of the Aleutian chain, expect IFR conditions. Saturday morning and then Saturday afternoon, again, we could see scattered thunderstorms redeveloping pretty much anywhere from near and south of the Alaska Range all the way upwards through the central and eastern interior and along the Brooks Range as well. So we are finding some instability even up there, pushing up toward sections of the North Slope for Saturday afternoon. And as we look off toward the west, again, out over the relatively cooler waters of the Bering Sea and Chukchi Seas, we find IFR conditions, especially trailing out there along the Aleutian chain. So pass conditions Friday, Anaktuvik Pass, generally VFR, could be some cumulus buildups, shower thunderstorm in vicinity. Same thing, Atigan Pass. Generally VFR conditions, but shower thunderstorm in vicinity could develop there with the afternoon, early evening heating. Lake Clark and Merrill, generally VFR conditions Friday. On the other side, west entrances, you could see some scattered showers and storms. Same thing, Rainy Pass, VFR, and especially as you get over along north and west of there, from the west entrance, there could be a shower thunderstorm in vicinity. Windy Pass, VFR, same thing. And as we go up through Isabel and Mentasta passes, generally VFR, be kind of hazy because of some of that smoke, but getting along, and especially on the north sides there of the Alaska Range, and for Mentasta Pass could also be up there in the northern Copper River Basin. We are looking at the potential for some buildups, and along with a scattered shower thunderstorm possible in vicinity. Tanita Pass also could be, especially along and north of Tanita Pass, could be a scattered shower thunderstorm. And then Portage Pass should generally enjoy VFR conditions on Friday. And then up in the northern Panhandle, Chilkoot and It's looking VFR again on Friday. Of note, looking at the freezing level at the surface, it's up there, retreated now way up into the Chukchi Sea, Beaufort Sea, off the Beaufort Sea coast. More notably, though, when we look at where is the warm dome of air in association with the mid and upper level ridge of high pressure, it's right over the mainland, especially the central eastern portions of the mainland and along the Alcan border into the Yukon Territory, where we find freezing levels aloft above 10,000 feet. As we look off toward the Panhandle, they fall off slightly to around and below 8,000 feet over the southern Panhandle, and then out here to the west across the Bering, there is a relatively lower freezing levels aloft out here toward the southwest Bering off of Kamchatka coastline, and a relatively higher area as you get down south of the eastern central Aleutians, but otherwise no particularly definitive spikes like what we might see with a more developed low and frontal system. We will have low pressure, though, coming up out of the North Pacific on Friday, crossing the central Aleutians and then kind of pivoting and hanging out in this region for the early weekend. And with the front, it's a gale force low as of this Thursday, and we'll likely see gale force winds near the surface continuing. So where there are enhanced clouds, thicker clouds producing rain, this is the region where you could encounter icing, but not until you get above 14,000 feet, and even up from around St. Paul westward above 10,000 feet. Could be an area of concentrated showers in the vicinity of the central Brooks Range, especially south slopes, starting Friday there in the morning. But above 12,000 feet, because I showed you the freezing levels aloft, they are greater than 10,000 feet. And jet stream level winds are not particularly strong, especially over the eastern mainland, northern panhandle, relatively light. We do have, because of the low coming up out of the North Pacific, we find southwest winds here over the lower southeast corner here of the Bering and across the Alaska Peninsula as high as 65 knots, but nothing as notable. Mid-level winds stronger, though, as we get to 9,000 feet or 700 millibars on Friday. You'll find a southerly flow across much of the southwest coast, the Yukon, Kuskokwim, Bristol Bay areas, and also into the southwest interior, south winds of 35, locally 45 knots. Strongest coming up here into the lower half of the Alaska Peninsula on the order of 45 to 50 knots from the south. And then on the back side of the circulation, north side of the circulation, out toward and north of St. Paul, and actually St. Matthew, there's a band along that occluded front where you might have southeasterly winds in excess of 50 knots. And then at 3,000 feet, we find the greatest threat for some stronger winds along the lower Yukon around Makoriak and Nunavik Island, Etolan Strait, Kuskokwim Bay, Bristol Bay. This is where some of the stronger winds will be accentuated right along that front, and then behind the front southwest flow just south there of the eastern Aleutians can be on the order of 40 to near 50 knots. So the greatest threat for turbulence on Friday will be along areas of the southwest coast, especially coming across this region of the Alaska Peninsula. I would say near and east of Chiknik, pulling on back, and there could even be some isolated severe turbulence. Cape Newingham would be another spot. Surface to 4,000 feet, along with some low-level wind shear with the arc in that front, gradually pushing its way north and eastward up into the southwest area of the mainland, as well as the Alaska Peninsula. And on the backside circulation, you have the potential for some moderate turbulence on Friday out there toward the western Aleutians, surface to 3,000 feet.